Good morning. Let us start the discussion on 08th January 2016 newspaper. A small advice to the students before you start reading this newspaper. Please watch the video followed by reading of my notes and then read the newspaper. It will reduce your time required for reading the newspaper. The major observation is this. Most of you spend 3 to 4 hours of reading the newspaper and feel your entire day is spent just in reading the newspaper. And that is the major reason for the loss of confidence. So follow this particular procedure. Once in a week, take the weekend consolidation sheet and try to recollect what we did in the last week so that you can take all these current affairs to your final examination to improve your score. So reading a newspaper and current affairs without improving your score is a sin. And second thing is, keep a paper and a pen before you when you start hearing to this particular newspaper articles or else this particular video, so that you can keep a pace or continuity with the video. If not, general attention span towards the video will be less than 10 minutes. As the videos are more than 15 minutes, probably you may lose interest in between. If you keep a pen and paper and start noting down something, then your interest may continue in the video. So coming to the 08 January 2016 newspaper, the first thing is related to the Mufti Muhammad Saeed. The Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir has passed away. The author describes him as a statesman. I myself refrain from using the same sentence, but however, what are the essence of what are points in this particular article? Now, he has worked as the Chief Minister of the state for 2 terms till now. One is from 2002 to 2005 and the next term is from 2014 till death. So during his first tenure, the Prime Minister Vajpayee is Insaniyat, and healing touch policy of Saeed, they went well together. So the Insaniyat is based on 3 grounds. One is bringing in negotiations with Pakistan and Hurriyat separately, and humanitarian, or else bringing back the people who went into militancy back into the normal livelihoods, humanitarian political approach to the valley and to the Pandits, negotiations with the militant groups. All these are the various things which are the part of the Insaniyat and the healing touch policy. The direct actions of this include reduction of the military and paramilitary forces stationed in Jammu and Kashmir, imposition or bringing back the rule of law, and greater integration of the Pandits into the valley society and bringing back the pluralism to the valley. This is what is called healing touch policy is. Added to this, the civic communities, health, education, all these facilities will be improved in the Kashmir. So, second important achievement is decentralization of the power to lay. Now the Ladakh and Kargil Hill Councils are established, and the other thing is improvement of relations across the border with across the LOC. In this context, the Muzaffarnagar-Srinagar bus service is very much famous, and also trade links are improved across this LOC in Kashmir. And during the second term, his success is not as visible in the first term. The reason is the militancy started growing in Kashmir, and also release of certain hardliners from the jail such as Mashrat Alam. It increased the tensions in valley, and showing of the Pakistani flags, Islamic State flags, they also increased it simultaneously. The revival of the Hurriyat, I think it's more to do with the center's policy rather than state. The revival of the Hurriyat militancy can be seen as a major failure. However, Kashmir as a state is going through a certain turbulence because of repeated natural disasters. So in this context, the second term of the Saeed also failed in handling these natural disasters. but the first term is very much successful compared to the second term. And coming to the Amartya Sen, this is the most important article for today. You can use this information to record or else to support your viewpoints in the answer. So what is development is? What is the role of the state and market in the development of a society? Now, if you see Amartya Sen, his argument is market and state, they have definite roles to play in a particular developmental history of a nation. The market is essential for fast growth and the state is necessary to distribute the growth. Across the world, the market is an extent successful with industry and development of agriculture, but it never was successful with regard to the education and healthcare delivery. Now in this context, either it is United States or with Cuba, everywhere, the state has a role in providing for universal education and healthcare. India is the only country that aims to achieve the education and healthcare through private means, through market means. This is where the failure is. And the second thing is, the development is not just about the financial investments as we think. It is also about building the human capabilities. Here, the human capabilities can be built only through education and healthcare. So the state has to take a special interest in enlarging the scope of the health and education. So, in development of a society, the state and market, these two have the equal role to play. And coming to the direct benefits transfer, direct cash transfer. If you remember, Bolsa Familia in Brazil, during the De Silva government, it's very successful and it has reduced the leakages in the public service delivery. Now the subsidies can be better targeted, leakages can be reduced to direct benefit transfer, and the present economic survey talks about JAM Trinity, which stands for Janadhan Yojana, Aadhaar and mobile connectivity. I am not going into the Supreme Court judgments etc. related to Aadhaar, right to privacy. Now let us see only the economic benefits related to this. The Janadhan Yojana has created the bank accounts. Aadhaar led to the better identification of the beneficiaries. The mobile has provided for the easy access for delivery of the services. So in this context, if you carefully observe MG Narega, previously it was facing the challenge of leakages in between. The middlemen used to siphon off the funds instead of they directly reaching to the people. Now the money is directly sent to the accounts of the beneficiaries. Similarly, the kilos in leakages are being reduced. Finally, if you see, LPG subsidies, when the government said people with greater than 10 lakh of rupees will not get the subsidy, then it can be properly directed towards the poor and marginalized through the use of direct benefits transfer. So, the DBT, if properly used, it can also create wonders, decreasing the subsidy burden of the government and also benefiting the poor and marginalized simultaneously. And the next is related to the Yuan devaluation. Now, in a surprise, the China again devaluated its yuan, creating the fears in the market again. Now the markets believe that the Chinese economy is much worse than anticipated. It means in China, the commodity prices are going to come down because China is the major absorber of the commodities. The iron ore, everything, the China absorbs that. So in this context, the China's economic slowdown can impact every other country. And second thing is, when a currency is devalued, in this context, the value of my investment is going to come down in this country, in that country. For example, if 10,000 crores are invested in China, if I convert them into some X dollars, when the currency is devalued, the number of dollars which I am going to get are going to decrease. It means in dollar terms my value has automatically reduced due to this devaluation. So the value of investments is going to come down. So in that context, investments will flow away from the emerging economies to the stable nations where the value can be retained. So it means the first destination is US, the next good economy is Germany, also in Asia, to an extent Japan. So that's why there is a flow of investment back into these countries. And US relative increase in interest rates recently also provides a greater incentive. So in this context, Yuan devaluation has led to the fall in stock market values across the world. And the FIIs are pulling their investments from the developing economies and shifting these investments into the other countries. As the demand in China is going to come down, the commodity prices are also going to fall rapidly. The oil prices already they are falling. So in this context, how to gain the ground is a major question. It is expected, as per the Goldman Sachs, oil prices will come down less than $20 per barrel. So it means, now what we need to understand from this article, what are the impacts of yuan devaluation? Because all the other countries also lead to the competitive devaluation. It creates a vicious cycle where we try to sell the goods less than the price which we buy them. So the competitive devaluation is dangerous for all the countries and to the global economy alike. In this article, try to remember what are the indices, Sensex indices in various countries. So they have given how the Sensex fell. For example, Singapore, that is Straits. Similarly, the Hong Kong. Similarly, United States. So they have given various Sensexes. You try to go through them. And the next is, with regard to the Pathankot incident, India has submitted evidences to the Pakistan. Let us see how the Pakistan is going to act against them. And next is the other article in defense of intelligence. It talks about every time whenever there is a terrorist incident, the fingers are pointed towards the failure of intelligence. So in this context, intelligence gathering has its own limitations. So it can be broad, but it cannot be very specific, pointing to that this is where the attack is going to happen. Either it is FBI, CIA, or with regard to the M5, everywhere the details of intelligence cannot be close to the operation. So in this context, it is the defense personnel and the police to take the clues from that intelligence and has to secure the entire perimeters or secure the operations over there. And coming to Ford Foundation from watch list, you know that this year there are 2 questions on the civil society. So the civil society, the Ford Foundation was removed from the prior permission category. What does that mean? Any organization that is kept under the prior permission category, it has to take the permission of Ministry of Home Affairs to transfer the funds to a particular bank account in India. Now, under the national security and anti-India actions, the Ford Foundation was kept under the prior permission category. Now, as Ford Foundation is said it is willing to register under Foreign Exchange Management Act, the government is trying to remove it from the prior permission category and it can freely transfer the money to the bank accounts in India. So, but however, if you remember my class, anti-national and anti-state actions are different. Government regulating the powers of the civil society, considering every and any action of them as anti-Indian or anti-national, will undermine the democracy. But this is one example of that particular incident. The Iran accuses Saudi Arabia of airstrike on Yemen embassy. You know the crisis going on in Yemen. There are Houthis who are Shia rebels. These Houthis get their support from the Iran. And the Sana'a, the capital, is under the control of the Houthis. And next is Mansour Ali Hadi. He is the existing president of the Yemen and he is getting the support from the Saudi. So the Saudi, in support of the Yemen ruler, it has bombed the Sana'a. So in this context, the Iran embassy got damaged, worsening the diplomatic crisis which has started after the execution of Saleh Nimr al-Nimr. Sorry, I forgot the name. Nimr al-Nimr. The Iran has suspended the movement of its people to the Makkah and also all the imports from Saudi Arabia. Coming to North Korea, why the North Korea has tested a weapon now? The reasons can be many. So we can draft them into three major reasons. One is, it wanted to show the world its military power and military readiness in case of a provocation from South Korea. And second, it wants to come out of the economic glitches it is undergoing through. So it wants to create for itself an Iran nuclear deal kind of situation. And finally, Mr. Kim Jong-un, he wants to strengthen its control over the government and administration. Because after the death of his father, his control is not relatively stable. The internal executions of North Korea clearly states this. So, the East Asian peace got disturbed. In this context, you can see the Pakistan's proliferation record. Either it is to Iran, to Libya or North Korea, everyone has got their nuclear establishment or nuclear technology from the Pakistan. And next is, it also shows the failure of the six-nation or six-party talks. The six parties include China, Japan, North Korea, South Korea, US, Russia. These are the six-party talks. They failed to find a solution to the North Korean issue, and they were suspended way back in 2009. So in this context, an identity crisis probably can be a reason. So now the countries wants to start this six-party talks, but however, what is the channel to reach to Mr. North Korean chief Kim Jong-un is the question. Because he is no more want this China ally tag or China's only friend tag. That's why he wants to expand his reach to the other countries. If you can remember recently, our CPM leader Yechuri went to the North Korean embassy and met their foreign minister. So the foreign minister has visited India in the almost time immemorial. It is the first time he has visited India. And also he is raising the relations with Russia, but he is nowhere directly involving himself. So the major task before China and all the world nations is to re-engage the North Korea for talks. And tale of three constitutions, the essence of these with Sri Lanka is creation of a unitary majoritarian state where the rights of minorities were not given due preference. It has led to ethnic strife in the Sri Lanka. So from Solberry Constitution to the Second Republic Constitution in 1979, everywhere the strengthening and centralization of the power is visible. So in the First Republic Constitution, the National Assembly was given the greater powers, and finally it was settled with the executive and curtailing of judicial powers. So this was the situation which we are facing. Now the new constitution has to be a federal constitution with protection of the rights of the minorities. Next is, Syria transition should not cause collapse of the state. So there is a meeting of minds between the United States and Russia over here. The Russia state is, the state institutions have to be protected in the transition phase of Syria. So it means there is common ground between US and Russia on this particular issue. Now one thing is, the recent West Asian crisis between Iran and Saudi Arabia, it is felt that the Syrian peace process can be derailed. But however, the International Syria Support Group, remember this, ISSG, International Syria Support Group, in which both the Iran and Saudi Arabia are the members, said it wanted to take forward this peace process. So these are the important articles for today. Thank you very much.